just walked in like seconds before you.
I'm just a speeder, I guess.
Hey, Don.
Hello, how are you guys?
Good. All right, we can hear you. You can hear us. We can check that off the list.
So we can communicate.
Core function of the comms committee.
I'm Amy Brevard, the owner of Scoops.
You're Amy. That's right. Okay, that's why I asked you. That's
Show them in the back.
Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah, Tara's coming in just a second. She had never been here before, so she was just texting me and, so I'm just-
Well, these connecting people.
Okay, so I went to the bird farm. That was the last meeting.
Good.
Thank you.
Nice job, nice work.
Thanks so much.
Hi, Jeff. See ya. Well, Bill.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, yes.
Anytime.
Yes.
Oh, this is Adriana, our marketing specialist,
Nice to meet you.
and Jennifer, our communication.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Amy. Hey, how are you? Welcome. Thank you. Every time I come in here, it's different.
That's right.
Mhm. I don't remember those pictures over there last time. Were they over here?
No, we're here. Yeah.
Maybe not.
Okay, it's 4:30. We ready to go?
We're ready.
Charles should be walking in. She's the biggest part. Ask yourself. I mean,
I'm gonna X out that 45%.
Here to the community. Thank you very much. I am probably.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, Sharon Parks. We were very bummed. Everybody was.
I'm Jacob.
Yes, Dick.
Jenna.
Nice to meet you.
Good.
Very well.
So back up to Don, it is 4:31, so we are ready.
And do we have a quorum?
We do have a quorum.
Super.
And the meeting has properly been posted?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Are there any owner comments of record?
I believe that.
No owner comments? Okay, it's kind of hard to hear you guys. Have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll move to
I'll second it.
Okay. And we're gonna introduce Andrew, Tara, and William. Are they all present and accounted for today?
Yes.
And welcome to the team, Andrew, Tara, William. Would any of you like to let us know a little bit about you guys, yourselves? Introduce yourselves.
I'm Bill, William's my formal name, I go by Bill, so.
Bill.
Lived in Celebration for 5 years, started renting for a year and a half, and then we, bought in 2022. Moved down here from Boston. My wife is also on on a couple of committees, so she's on the Parks and Rec and, Covenants Committee. We live in South Village, Spring Park Loop, and my 5-year-old daughter Ellie goes to the Montessori over there. I am in the process of opening a new business in Lakeland, so I'm gonna get integrated into Florida more so now, so that's that, and this will keep me busy.
Welcome aboard, Bill. I actually met your wife because I'm on the covenants committee as well. So welcome
Okay.
aboard.
Thank you.
And Andrew or Tara?
I'm Tara, and I've lived in Celebration for 1 year. This is a second home. We switch back and forth between Celebration, Florida and Austin, Texas. So we go back and spend about pretty close to 50-50, but a little bit less than here than in Austin. I'm a military veteran, so I was an intelligence officer in the military and the Air Force, and also worked for the Department of Energy, intelligence. Besides that, I am a massive Disney fan. That is my hobby. And really love the town of Celebration. Good friends with Amy. So when I found out that this was an opportunity that was available, I wanted to see if I could help out. So I'm happy to be here and thanks for having me.
Thank you for volunteering to be part of this. Andrew, are you in the house?
Andrew's not in attendance.
Okay, very good. Welcome again to everyone on board. And I guess the next one thing on our agenda, talking about the magazine, correct?
So the publisher will be joining our call at 5 o'clock. We
Okay.
have some preliminary conversations if we wanted to as well, to get, our questions in order before they jump on.
Okay,
Before this meeting, Jennifer, while, I think today is her 7th day with us, has been in contact with, her name is
Christina.
Christina.
And Sean will be joining us as well.
Oh, super. And as well as Adriana, I think who's been helping with the magazine as well on that.
Andrew Dunning said he is on Teams.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we miss him or is he already left?
I think maybe should double check.
He's not.
He's not, but I'll just send him over the meeting invite.
Okay.
And we can continue on this. Do you want to, Jen, give a little intro on what you've kind of shared with the?
Absolutely. So, I'm curious as well to see what you guys are interested in learning from the magazine as well as from the publisher. And so I basically just told her we wanted to go, they're gonna give us an introduction, a quick brief background of who they are and what they do, the origin and intent of the magazine, the overview of the current agreement. I will say up front, the agreement that I found is from 2018. So I did ask if there is a more recent agreement, so she was gonna send it if they could find it. That's where we left off from that, so I don't have updated.
Yeah, we actually just found that agreement last Thursday, I think, or we at Town Hall haven't had that since the transition to Grand Manners. It's been a missing document, so we have just rediscovered it, which was great timing for this as well.
Mhm. So, and there's a copy here as well. If everybody wants to have a look at that. Thank you.
When I should send out to Dawn.
Oh, gosh, send you guys. And then to go over kind of our goals or you guys' goals, for the magazine. From my understanding, it's just, assume community engagement, storytelling aspect of it and supporting our local businesses as well. I also mentioned in there that we wanted to look at brand elevation, which again, I will defer to all of you to kind of talk through what you're looking for from the publishers, but I put in here the vision for revitalizing the magazine to make it reflect what makes Celebration special. And the format and design updates, editorial opportunities and creative ideas. And also limitation and constraints that we have to work within, because I think that's really important and they are listed out in that agreement. In the approach to advertising and with alignment and tone in the mission for it. So that was what I sent over to Christina, saying that that's really some of the things that we wanted to address. Oh, lost you.
He's there.
Oh, okay.
So are there any hot buttons or anything we want to discuss prior to her joining us? Any thoughts?
Like to just personally see more inclusion of Celebration Point and Island Village. Because I feel like sometimes, and I've been getting this magazine for years, even before we moved here, when we vacationed here, it seems to be more downtown. Which I know that's where 90% of the events and things are, but, I think from, a lot of people in Celebration Point and then also in Island Village. So maybe a piece doing a highlight, especially with all the growth of the 800 homes that are getting ready to be done at the end of this year here. And, just some things like that. So that's something I'd like to personally see. I think doing the business, feature that they started doing this year, was great. I know that was Jim from Island Village. That was his idea. And they took a different business and let them be highlighted at no charge. That I can speak as a small business owner was a big, help to us, but also all the ones I've seen, I'm like, oh, I've never been there. This is, you get to know your neighbor and get to know why you're supporting that business. So I'd love to see that. I think that was a huge new item. And the calendar has been updated a lot, in the last year or two. Like even Celebration Women's Club, we meet monthly. We were actually included for the first time in years, they said. So that's been updated. So I found it very helpful being a new resident here. I use it. I actually take this page out and put it on my refrigerator and highlight some of the activities and things. So I hope that the calendar events is something that's helpful to others, but that's been a big help to me being a new resident.
Pause right here. We had Andrew jump on the call. So Andrew Dunning, a quick around the room for you, Andrew. We have, we have Jen, our comms manager here. I know you quite well. We have William, who also goes by Bill. We have Adriana, our marketing specialist. We have Amy Scoops. We have Tara and Doug. And then off in the corner, we have, sorry. I think where you cannot see
I'm in the
screen.
I'm in trouble.
We have Katie, your board liaison, and then Dawn Town, your communications committee chair on the line as well.
Sounds
Welcome,
good.
Andrew.
Thank you.
Any, introduce yourself to us and let us know a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. So my husband and I bought our first place here back in like 2003. We've lived all over the place, but we now own a place in Artisan. I am pre-tired. I do not like to say retired, but
like that.
I am pre-tired.
I remember that.
But I spent my entire career in communications, actually, in advertising for pharma and med device. So I've done everything from strategy on to TV spots and social media for a highly regulated field. And especially pharma is highly regulated, med device is a little less regulated. But yeah, so I'm kind of excited to understand how we can better communicate. I don't want to kill anybody out of the bit, but I do think that like communication is something that, especially with the way social media seems to spiral pretty quickly, it's something we probably as a community need to do a little bit better before it starts going down rabbit holes that we can't seem to get out of.
Well, welcome. I'm really pleased with the pedigree of everyone on board and this team. We have got some really good credentials, and so we're looking forward to working together and just elevating the communication and the opportunities for this town. So welcome,
Great.
Andrew.
Thank you.
So if we get back to the magazine, I'll make a couple points. Maybe Jacob, you can help me with some of this. Do we have a distribution list? We must have, right, for the magazine and who it's sent to?
The magazine is sent to every homeowner in Celebration, and then we have an internal distribution list for all of the other resident or business-based boxes around.
The reason I ask is because several people have noted to me either they do not want the magazine anymore or they're receiving multiple copies at their address. So I don't know when the last time we addressed that distribution list, and or if there's an opportunity to present it to the community and say, hey, do you receive it? Do you want to receive it? Do you want to receive it online only? It's a shame to send it out if they're not going to read it. and or if they prefer the online version.
So that is done, that's taken care of by the publishing company itself. So that's
Okay.
something we event. And then we could be the liaison for if there's requests coming in of they're receiving duplicates or they no longer want it, then our team, with Jen would reach out to them and update that list. But it's something now we can start doing and working.
So maybe there's an opportunity on the Monday Matters or the Friday, to put that out there to our residents onto how they like to receive that communications. Is that
Yeah,
possible?
But can I ask a question? Sorry. Most of the time, like when you're doing that, you're mailing to like I don't know what it's called, but it's like a permit that you buy from the post office. So you can't maintain it because it's everybody in the zip code. Is that the way that works? Or is it that we actually do a distribution list? Because that would seem to me that would cost like $1 billion extra to do it through a
Right.
list.
Usually it's the mailer,
Medium.
door mailer, and like you said, that's what I was questioning, that they have it, usually you have to do it everybody versus cherry picking.
We can ask when they jump on the call and see if that's the case.
But they don't necessarily need to receive 2 at each address. And I've had a couple of people let me know that, so that was one of the reasons for the question.
So my view of this is, I've been here 10 years and I was here before this
In the newspaper.
and it's a pretty, tabletop. And I don't want to make it Nelly, but I think to me, it serves 3 purposes. One, I think, points out, it does have that's a lot of advertising and background about the community, so it's a tool to introduce Celebration to a prospective resident or new resident. So what else do we want to do, I guess is the question. And Jacob, for you, does the board care about this? I mean, is this something they want to see some changes, or they are fine with the status quo?
I'll let Katie speak on behalf of the board.
Well, I won't speak on behalf of the board, but I have thoughts for the committee to discuss. Because I've talked to other liaisons that are the board liaisons for other committees. And like from what I notice is like residents typically go where they're being fed. And a lot of residents are being fed online, so they get a lot of their information via social media. However, sometimes people need to hear things more than once and they need different avenues. So I think the magazine serves that purpose. But the thing that's missing in the magazine that something like another committee like proposed is something like project updates. Like a lot of project updates get done on social media or Monday Matters. But like a master plan could, give the committee kind of like an update of where they're at, like with different projects like town hall, the splash pad. And then the committee could like formulate like a communication piece or something on it, just, for residents to read so they know, what's going on in the community. Because a lot of people that aren't on social media, they're like, well, what's happening with town hall? Or maybe they don't check their email that often. So this is just kind of like another way. And they said that, the liaison said that he could get the committee to kind of like provide those bullet points. And then if communications wanted to implement something.
Yeah, you need a source for that information.
To like, kind of like give it some more substance as an option.
Can I ask a question? Do we actually pay, or is this independent? They make the money and so it's up to them to sell the ads?
The latter. So we do not pay.
Okay.
Only cost associated to the magazine is the time input from this team, from our communications team, on gathering the content and writing the copy and doing the proofing. That's the real, and then our Parks and Rec team on distributing to the on-site businesses. So it's just.
I've been around since the newspaper too. I think like a lot of my career has been in brand. I find this magazine so off-brand for Celebration. Like, what is this picture? I now know. I figured it out.
Agreed.
But it's not. It took 10 pages to get something that wasn't an ad or the trash schedule in this magazine. And it's just, if you think about, if you went to Disney and you would not expect to ever receive this slick airplane back pocket magazine. You know what I mean? Like that's not what you would get. You'd get like this little fun newspaper and like We Are Disney. And so brand wise, like it's so confusing to me. And then the picture, yeah, the picture. I do know what this is now, but in my opinion, you can tell this is done by someone who doesn't live in the community. That's my 2 cents. I
But what-
recycle it as soon as it comes in, by the way.
Well, who's driving it? Who's the, who's driving it? Who's deciding, what gets on the cover? And I just, I don't understand. Is that,
Well, the second part to that question is, what is the publication deadline? Because I think it was Katie that was saying, oh, we got to get more information on what's going on in town hall. By the time this goes to print, it's probably expired. I bet if you search now, of course, the real estate market's slowing, but I bet if you search half these houses, they're gone because of the way the deadlines hit with this type of printing and mailing.
I used to write for it and it was a month out.
Yeah. Well,
That's
there
what
you
it
go.
was. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I don't know, I do see some value though to Katie's suggestion of putting updates for people who maybe not follow social media, because I think there are still. Because even if you go on social media and you see people who seem to casually browse what's going on and ask the, what is the update to, 851, or what is the update to the splash pad? I mean, some people, you're like, have you been missing for the last 6 months? But so I think there is still some value in providing community updates to that.
I just think that like, let's just use a splash pad because I guess that's pertinent. I didn't even know it was something was going on. But if this was a month ago that you had to submit it, would we know the splash pad? So now in a month when we get submitted again, will we even be able to give an update on the splash pad? Versus being able to do it more in the email or text. Do we ever attempt text to a link out?
We can
So-
ask those questions on the deadline that the publisher needs to know. We'll get a definitive date on that time frame. But we drive that, right? I mean, we drive the content. Is that correct?
Really high level, and Adriana, jump in if I misspeak on this, as you have some more detail on it. On a really high level, we receive kind of the magazine and it has grayed out sections on, nope, this is advertisement. We're gonna handle the advertisement. And here's open blocks. You provide the content to whatever you want for these blocks.
Right.
And that's the relationship.
Yeah, we can't like decide if we want to have the content like closer in the front page of the magazine. It's just kind of already laid out like that.
So they're doing all placements.
Correct.
Yes.
Do we have control, just because it sounded like Andrew was saying that there's a lot of advertisement, is it? Like, do we think there's too much advertising, and is that something?
Well,
Doesn't have control over there?
contractually, they get, it's 40% of the pages go to advertising.
Okay,
When we see them, as far as the placement though, we see like the pages, right? So like
No,
page 7, half sheet, or is it just a?
it's a very simple format where it's here, upload the information, and they put the information where they want that. So it's not like a drag and drop format, yeah.
So like the Jeff's Bagel Run this month, did we say do a spread of Jeff's Bagel Run, or they just chose it because that was open and they had like the media, the type like to go in there?
Isn't that part of the businesses that each one?
Yeah, that's the business spotlight. We decide what kind of business that we want to feature in the magazine, and they take up 2 pages.
So in the past, that has been the communications has taken the lead on that. Obviously, the last few months that has fluctuated, and so stepping into this, that would be something that Adriana and I would typically now
Right.
take it. That's not really had our involvement, which we're excited to do, but
Right.
prior to that, I think was typically just something that the communications manager put together.
So moving forward, Jennifer and Adriana, you gals will be more or less driving that creative content that we have possession of?
Correct.
I think that would be positive, and that we can obviously influence that
Correct,
concept.
right. So, yeah, we're excited to do that. I think that, and again, they can speak more to this, but the publisher, I think, kind of, you take the ball, you do what you want with this.
Sure.
This is a magazine, and they obviously care about the advertising part of
Sure.
that. But, you know, again, so we can absolutely, I see, like you guys do, that the sky's the limit. There's a lot of opportunity here for the community.
And I'm excited with your role.
Or
in
no?
there.
Okay.
We get to pick the cover. Yeah, they don't do any of the creative in terms of what the visuals are. It's just simply.
And I do know from, you know, Belinda's time and then even Liz before Belinda, that the cover has always been kind of a struggle on getting, because it has to be a very high resolution photo.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's the idea of how do we make it different so it's not the same style photo every time, and now we're in, you know, we have 7 years in, how are we not repeat photos? So that is something that I know has been a struggle from the person on our team managing it, is how do we get another good photo for the cover?
But I
Well,
think
I'm not trying to rehash 7 years, but why do we not look back to going to newspaper where you don't need that high of resolution? Because like, I don't know, that happened on May 2nd. What was it? The kickoff, the ULA thing. But on the flip side, you have back tucked away on page, sorry, I know it's my first meeting. I'm sorry. And I just picked this up today. I was on vacation. But the Garden Club, 2 kids won a scholarship back on page 41. I mean, that's actually like good community, you know, they won from the Garden Club. That's tucked away back on 41, and something that happened a month ago is on the front cover. And and I know it's a magazine, right? Like that is a much harder print. It's a much more like slick print, but I don't know.
Well, I think the opportunity is ours, and with Jennifer on board, new fresh set of eyes, and from the input from us, I think we can, because like the publisher doesn't care about, they're there to sell advertisements, so we control the creative content, I believe. And
Step back question, which is, are we happy with this publisher? Like, we've had a contract that looks like it expired in 2021, if I'm reading this correctly. Have we gone out to kind of kick the tires of who else is out there to see, like, is this how we wanna? Because it sounds like we're looking at this whole kind of from, you know, beginning to end, like, does this still work or not? So like, I guess that would be my first question, is like, does this arrangement with this company still work? Do we want a different format or something that looks different? Like, I don't know if that's what we're trying to decide here, or just the content, or what it is, but it seems like there's a few different things that we're talking about here that maybe we need to just like first determine, is this what we still want? Is this the company we should still work with to do it? Then determine from there.
I think, they're about to jump on at 5 o'clock. I think that is something that I'm happy to, if you want to look at, you know, different publishers or something that we can go back and revisit. I think when they get on the call, the good question is, I think to focus on it, obviously, you know, this is your meeting, but maybe the limitations, like what can we do, what can't we do? Because I'll be learning that with you guys as well, and how flexible, which from what I've read in my interaction with them, I think they are really flexible and want to hear what changes you guys find.
Yeah, I think you're right. The last committee kind of had that same, you know, there were some questions on that where it led to, well, let's start these discussions to see what a revamp, like this kind of revamp is kind of the trial to see, because from a business operation, I'd say, yeah, we're happy. There's not a lot of risk in the agreement we have with them, which is really good.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of additional cost or manpower that we have to provide into it. So as far as, you know, those items, it is good. And and there is that fear, if we look out to other publications, are we going to have a agreement that is as beneficial to the community on a risk basis as this is? That's just, you know, from my seat of viewing on it. And that's where we were worried that, you know, this discussion of revamping, that they were actually going to come back kind of against it, like, but it has been very positive. Jennifer just says, no, they're fine, they want to work with it. So that has been a step in the direction as far as where we are on temperature gauge.
Okay.
Yeah, the very last meeting we had with the old committee, just literally started discussing this and raised the question, is this of value to the community? Does it represent what we want Celebration to represent? And is there a better way to do it? And then the committee disbanded. So we made sure that this didn't leave the first, the agenda for the first meeting. So
And I think the next step would be, I am curious to hear, I don't live here, I'm in Winter Garden, but I'm very familiar with the area, but what do you want? I understand the what don't we want, but what does represent Celebration? And I think as the communications manager, that will help with a lot of things to hear. And a question I have that maybe the thought can be, is this just for the community? Is it for people coming into the community? Or is it strictly who lives here?
I think it's for both. I mean, like
Yeah.
from the perspective of myself, that I visited here for 4 years before we actually moved and purchased a home here. And I picked it up every single time I went to the town tavern, or every time I went to the farmer's market. And it would show me, and I would be, oh, I want to live there. This looks great. I want to visit there. This is so neat. I need to take this back to my town. Look at all that they're doing. So for me, personally, I can say I've picked it up as both perspective, and I found value in both. So I do think it needs a lot of treats, and I'm from a branding perspective too, so I would love to see some more continuity and consistency, but I think it is of value to both.
Do we know, and maybe that's a question, do they have other formats?
That's a good question for them. I do not know the answer to that, but I am curious to see how, if we ask them, how much, if there is options.
We can't be the only HOA. I was just looking at their page. That is kind of like saying Twitter changed us all, right? Like we don't read 3-page articles anymore. And like there've got to be other ones who are trying to adjust to different formats, the different, like how else can we make it quicker, easier for people to digest? Because it feels so
More
big.
accessible.
Yeah.
Are these linked to, is it linked to a social, is there a social event? Is there an Instagram or Facebook or whatever associated with this magazine? Kind of, no. Is that a thing? No.
There's an online version.
There's always, yeah.
so
We do have it linked to the Friday Flash, so it's linked there into the different, is there anywhere else that it's linked?
Monday Matters.
Right, and Monday Matters. So it is out there electronically for people who want it, but just maybe not.
And it's on our
I
website
would
as well.
distribute it. Here's the link.
So it could be a good tool that we do post on our Facebook page that then can be shared to the other community pages.
Absolutely, like I said, I think from a big picture, that's the branding we talk about. I feel like social media, I feel like our Monday Matters, our Friday Flash, the magazine, everything kind of needs to be branded together so that when you see it, it's Celebration. That's just something.
Agreed. Yeah. Great.
By the way, just for fun, because I'm sorry, and I know someone took this picture, but if you look at the table of contents, the cover picture says, remember the services and sacrifice. So that's an error on their part, but that doesn't tie to the dancing ladies. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I think but I do feel like that may be our.
Yeah, that's us, because we need to finalize on that.
Well, it didn't get updated from what most likely was the Memorial Day one, I guess, like probably the month prior.
But that's on us. They will
That's on
say,
us.
what I've read, that they do minimal, they will upload what we give them. So it's on us to, pretty
Great.
much please ourselves.
All right. Cool. So we're waiting on, is it Christina? Is that?
Christina and Sean is.
Okay. Well, obviously, the conversation will be revolve around the current magazine and not going to a newspaper or anything else, because that's an offline conversation. But strictly the magazine and how we can improve it and how we can work together, brand management, and how we can make it a better piece for all of us.
Again, maybe it was a different.
So it was a newspaper before? Yeah.
So back to that comment though, Don, like if they do have other formats, it's
Oh,
not like
absolutely.
they could fix this with us,
No,
right? It's
no,
not like we have to
absolutely.
go RFP out, right? Like that's
No, right.
not.
Absolutely.
I think it was,
No, it was, I think, a monthly.
I think it was monthly, because I remember seeing the
Yeah.
same one.
It was monthly, yeah.
It was like on a higher quality paper. Like it wasn't newsprint. It was like one step above. It was color. I think the whole thing was color. So it wasn't cheap either, but it just, I don't know. It was quicker read. And the advertising blended in a little better.
Yeah, I would agree.
Food industry units.
Yeah.
While we wait, can we jump to Jennifer introduction? Jennifer, welcome aboard.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
And can you give us a little highlight of your professional experience?
Sure, it's a long one, but pretty much over the past 25 years, I've really been involved in anything that is storytelling related. So it started off in film and then quickly went to TV. And then I did my many years in reality TV. I don't love to say that much, but I learned a lot. And then from there, and I also did casting and anything to do with talent, storylines and things like that. And so I'd say probably in the past 5 years, that's transitioned like everybody else into digital content creation, websites, social media, all that fun stuff. So, and I also recently worked with helping a startup tech company with AI, I know, modeling of their storytelling platform. So that led me to here, and I am super excited. And like all of you, I love the branding part of it, and I see so much. Everything is amazing, and I always love celebration. So it's already doing a great job, but I see so much potential for the future too. So I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And then on the notes, Adriana, I haven't met you. I don't know if everyone else has met you, but could you
Yeah.
highlight
yes.
your?
I'm here for about 2 months, hired 2 months ago as a marketing specialist. I took over the magazine last month, so I had a hard time finding a good cover photo.
Sorry. Sorry.
I'm like,
Rome to the wolves.
yeah, you're fine. Lost our Tom's manager pretty abruptly, so I kind of took on the magazine myself as a newbie. So I tried to get a good cover photo. I think we was just trying to get a good photo of the events in Celebration. That did take place early May, but what we were thinking for next month is probably an event that happened early June. It'll be for the July edition, so we're open to suggestions for the feature, the cover photo, because we have not got that yet. Yeah.
So what's your deadline as in charge of the magazine to the publisher?
Yeah, she typically likes to have all the content and the photos done within the first week of the month. So we kind of push it a little bit to the second week.
And that's everything into her. So our deadline we have to look at that and revamp that also for sure.
Okay.
Do we have a library of last year's July 4th stuff? Because that was, I mean, if we didn't
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah,
least
we looked
celebrate.
at, that's what we looked at and are pulling up now is really going back, and that makes sense to going back. That was, when I looked at what's available to going back, really, we're gonna have to go back a year out.
It looks like we had someone join the call. Hello?
Yes, hello, it's Christina with Turning and Sage.
Hi,
Welcome,
Christine,
Christina.
thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you. And I have Sean here.
Hello,
I think-
Sean. Welcome.
Hello there. How you doing? Sorry, I dialed in and I wasn't able to get, nobody patched me in, I guess.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Well, welcome aboard. We're talking magazine. And do you guys want to lead it off with your thoughts, or and we can have some questions, Q&A?
we start with history and then maybe get into process a little bit?
Are you asking us for this or what?
You guys, like your experiences with us.
Okay, yeah, I got this email on Friday as I was leaving town and I'm traveling right now, so I'm a little bit not clear on exactly what the purpose of the meeting is. So let me jump into where we're at. So what would you like you'd like some history on the Celebration magazine and what we've done with it since we started doing it?
Right. So what you're talking to the communications committee and
Okay.
this is a new challenge for us to evaluate this publication. We all like it, but we're not sure it serves the best purpose for Celebration. So we
Okay.
want you guys about your experiences with us, how it's worked in the years you've been involved with us a little bit, but I'd like to learn more about the process, so maybe we can go into that. But I think I think all of us want to learn about your interaction with us and the creation of this publication of this tool.
And I would just add to that too, any best practices from other HOAs or big communities that you do this for, because I don't think we're the only one. So
Okay.
are we doing
yeah.
something we could do better?
So I think that from the standpoint of any publication and any HOA that we deal with, the biggest thing is obviously communication between your communications team that's providing us with the content and our design team. Christina, who introduced herself, she's the designer that has been on with Celebration since the beginning. We've been through a lot of different people. That is one of the hardest things for us to deal with, because there's a lot going on in the process of getting from start to finish and doing it in 15 days. And that's 15 calendar days, not business days. And so as we have progressed through the magazine, as we get to a place where things are moving and just flowing easily, then there's a change of the person that now we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And so that's a difficult thing. So we're in a constant state, especially over the last, what's it been, a year? How many? I think there's been four or five different people in the last year, and that's been tough. But it's par for the course, and it's part of what we do. And so we go back into the training process, and we use an online system that keeps everybody in line. It's a task management system that has the outline of the magazine itself, and then the content for each one of those sections is uploaded, along with any pictures that come from the community or suggestions for what kind of style is wanted for that particular article, whether we use stock images or anything like that. And then from there, we put out a proof, and then it goes back. And it's a back and forth. I mean, publishing is a pretty mundane process, but it is a process. And our biggest holdup in any of that is the process of from when we get the content. If it's late, that forces us into we have to move a lot faster, because we're serving we serve two groups of people. We serve the advertisers and we serve Celebration, right? The community. And the advertisers are the ones that make that magazine possible. And so our goal is always to have that out in a timely manner so that it's being delivered and in mailboxes between the 1st and the 5th of the month. And that's really our number one goal.
Has it been a challenge up to this point from Celebration, meeting the deadlines?
I think it's just a matter of, getting organized on your end and, being consistent with that. But, there's always things that come in late, just a lot, as well as things that go in super early, and then it'll sit there by itself for a week or so, and then the rest of the content comes in. But, I think we go about it in a timely manner. So.
It's very PC of you, Christina.
Well, it's
Okay.
true. I mean, it could be much, much worse. And I try very hard to get Celebration out at the first, out of all of my magazines to try to do that one the first because it's the longest and, has the most content. But, I think we do a pretty good job with the back and forth and the, editing the files before they're uploaded and sent, cuts back on time with our back and forth edits. Which I spoke with Jennifer and Andrea about both of that, in the last month. So I think that and from what I've seen so far, everything's looking good with the uploads and everything. So, it's just about staying organized really, and then everything can flow easily.
Well, our goal would be to provide some stability, with the people in place, the new, relatively new people in place on our end to get that, make sure that things run smoothly and we make our deadlines. I think that's important. Do we, our team here, any comments or questions for the
Yeah,
Sean and
I
Christina?
have another question. What other, or I assume you work with other communities, other HOAs. What do you do with them that maybe we should be looking at to improve our magazine? Are there any sort of examples or case histories that you could share with us about people who do something different or have won awards or anything that you would view as something we might be missing?
Well, I guess the first question would be is what are you trying to accomplish? What do you feel that you are missing?
Anybody? Andrew?
Sorry, I was on mute. Couldn't find the mute button. I guess my question, I'd turn it back to you guys and what is the most effective one you have? Like you made a comment that ours is big. Okay, maybe it should be smaller. What is that best case that you guys do, right? How many of them do you do? And sort of what is that, where you feel like you're getting the most benefit for both the community and the advertisers, right? Because obviously they're paying the bill.
Yeah, they are. So it's kind of this is a pretty broad conversation, and it would help me a lot to understand what we're trying to accomplish in this. Is there something that is the community's not happy with that you think needs to be changed? What are we trying to accomplish in this particular meeting? What are you guys looking for as far as answers?
Well, we're a relatively new committee, new members. So
Okay.
we're kind of asking the questions, where are we? And learning the processes and
Right.
asking feedback from you guys on how we can make this stronger. The goal is to make this, the best communications magazine for the community as possible. And are there new trends? Are there new things out there? Are we utilizing everything?
The reality is that the industry is dying.
Yep,
It's a slow
absolutely.
death.
Agreed.
We as of COVID, we had 26 magazines around the country. After losing 6 figures a month, just keeping them afloat, because that falls on us. Our commitment is to the community. Advertisers weren't there. Advertisers weren't there for a long time. I started, going back to the communities and explaining that, I can't continue to sustain this. And most of them dropped their magazines and completely dropped them. We held on to 4 of them. The 4 that I chose to hold on to you were one of them. Downsized because I own a print shop and an apparel company. We're a full fabrication and printing facility. Turney and Sage is the publishing side that used to be part of all of that, but I split it out to its own entity, and Turney and Sage is very small. I mean, it's basically, I'm the publisher, Christine is the designer, and we've got Barry that deals with the ads and the contracts. And I don't spend very much time except at the end of the month, I go over and sign off on the 4 magazines to make sure that I've got the fresh set of eyes. I know what I'm looking for. I also know what mistakes are pretty common, wrong page numbers, wrong dates, things like that. And so we're trying to do that. And then everything goes to press and we move on to the next month. So it's a little bit different than what it used to be. And it's not intended to, I don't push to make it anything more than that, to be honest with you, because it is a dying industry. I mean, it's hard to find advertisers. Celebration, if I put the numbers to what Celebration does, we are still in a negative position from the year we started.
Oh.
But it also, I hold on to it because I think it's a great magazine. I think the community has a great feel about it. I think that the prestige of Celebration itself is a great thing. The fact that it's rack circulated, the advertisers keep me in a place where it covers costs, but it doesn't make any money. And with that, if I've been in business my whole life, and it might be that next year I decide, there is an opportunity to grow magazines. And so, I may go off and have expand, because I know how to do that very rapidly. I've done it many times in a lot of different industries. But with the publishing side, it's more of it's a love-hate relationship. I love every bit of it, but it's almost a hobby for me, to be honest with you. So I don't go anywhere. I never will leave anybody high and dry. I have never done it. It's one of those things where that's why I want to understand what you're trying to accomplish so that I can help you make whatever that decision is with the information that I have, because I'm an open book. I have nothing to keep from you. I have nothing to candy coat. If we're going to talk in committee, we're going to talk about the reality of what it is, and not so much, I'm not here to save anything for you, if that makes any sense. And I don't mean to be offensive by any means. I'm just being very clear with where we're at, is that we love the magazine. We take a lot of pride in it. But what are you trying to accomplish, so that we can be all on the same page? So where we're at is that we go and grind on it month after month. It covers costs, and that's all that I can hope for. Because it is hard to get people in. People don't want to advertise as much, and it's a tough business in today's world.
So I guess,
Well, I think,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I appreciate your candor, Sean. I appreciate that. Andrew?
I do too. And that's actually, I think, really great. How can we work together to make something new then? Do you run a print shop? Are there other ways to print it? How do you move it more into the world that we're living in now with online? That's got to be a cost.
Yeah, so I've got plenty of ideas with that. One of the things that I had looked at, and I was going to use Celebration as the test model for it, was to build a digital version that was built like a website, taking a magazine like Time Magazine or something along those lines, where there was a printed version and a digital version. The problem with that is that, one, there's an expense to that. There's time to that, and it's got to be updated every month to follow the magazine. And that requires more employees that I can't afford or justify having work on that project, because it ends up, it takes what is not actually costing me money to a place where it is costing me money.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I had thought that, to bridge that gap of the digital and print divide, that would be a great option. We know that the magazine works. We know that people are reading it. We know that with the other 3 magazines that I've kept, is we know that they are being read and being picked up. We know that our advertisers are seeing success. And that's really where I have to focus, is are the advertisers seeing success? Because if they aren't, it doesn't matter what the community wants. Right? And so that is the biggest pie in the sky that I have looked at as far as how do we accomplish that. I think that one of the struggles we've had from the very beginning with the magazine was that, Celebration has a very distinct brand, and we were given very limited design freedoms to make it more modern. And I think that Christina has done a phenomenal job with what we've had to work with. And, there's been minor, as you have people come in and out, they request things, and we're if they say, well, we really want to have this, then we make those minor changes. And that's why if you look from the first magazine through today, then you're going to see variation in that. And that's variation coming from direction on your side more than anything. And, we had a conversation with I believe it was Jennifer, was it Belinda? It was Belinda, what was it, a month and a half, 2 months ago? Regarding the design of the magazine. We'll design anything that you want. I mean, we're literally designing it every month. When it comes down to the basics like the table of contents, the mast head, the pages that have recurring information on them. We want to find a look for that stays pretty consistent, because there's a lot of time that goes into building those pages out, more than most people realize. But once we have that, the rest of the pages can have quite a bit of fluidity and take you want to keep that theme going on while also creating a readership. One of the major things that I have found through the years, even when we published our own magazines, is everybody has a problem with white space, but less is more. And when you try treating a magazine like it's a newspaper, you're going to lose the interest of the reader, because it's just not the world we live in today. People are looking at snippets on their phone. They're not reading 1,000 word, essays that are being submitted by, different organizations that want to get their word out. They need to simplify, and that's something that, I've always tried to promote, but have been very unsuccessful with every community we've ever dealt with, because everybody wants to put as many words in that thing as they possibly can, and it's to their own detriment. And I always say, go pick up other magazines. You don't have to just look at HOAs, because they're a bad example. Go look at other magazines and see that less is more. Because your readership, you really want to get your readership involved. And, and I think that Celebration has to have some involvement, mainly just because, again, we see the success of the advertisers that stay. So,
I mean, from my perspective, I couldn't agree more. We could use a little more white space in this. We put a lot. Is any of the other magazines doing it? Or are they all pretty much following that same, no, let's jam it full?
see it maybe.
Um,
It's a struggle all the way
yeah,
across the
yeah.
board.
like some of my magazines, they'll send short articles, but then they'll send, it's 2 per page or something, and then it's still filled, so it's like every bit of information that you can imagine needs to be in the magazine,
And I think you lose. My argument has been that you lose eyeballs real quick. It's kind of like mail. We do millions of pieces of mail a month, and I have clients that insist on doing edge to edge text, and I tell them you have 3 seconds, 3 seconds to get your point across. And anything else should just basically interest them enough to make a call. In the magazines, I looked at it as, you have enough time to catch somebody's attention. They should be able to read the article within a minute or two, and get the gist of it. And if it's a QR code that leads them to something more, that ties into what my thoughts were with the online versions. but not an online version that is a flip book. I don't think that does anything. I'm talking more along the lines of an online version that is an actually full functioning website that has spotlight articles on the homepage and and takes you everywhere else. But I think that, if you're putting this information anywhere else, especially when it comes to like the CCNRs and different guidelines from the community, if they're anywhere else, I don't think you need to post them and list them all out in such detail that you lose the readership. People just aren't going to pay attention to that. But if you can catch their attention in that brief moment and give them a way to access more if they're interested, it also tells you how much more interested people are in what you're actually putting out there. And it's not that I don't think that you guys have some great articles that go out there and that there are things that are of interest to the community. Don't get me wrong. I just think that there's a lot of words, and it's, like I said, it's not just you. It's been a constant problem, for the last 15 years. So I'm not not shocked by any of it.
And I just, Dawn, if I could, to make sure we get something out of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Christine, could you guys send us over what you feel like is a templated best practices? Here is the amount of words I feel like I personally always trust that you know what you're talking about. Could we get that? Or does that exist? Best practices from your point of view, the people who know what they're talking about. Could we get that from you?
Yeah, we could put something together per, page spread.
And we have provided
page.
those things through the years as to how many characters we want in an article.
I do have some of that. Yeah, we do. I think if we could just get that again. Also, again, if you have those thoughts that you were talking about, the things that you were like, I would love to do. If we could kind of maybe, whether that's a visual, see that, or however you have that template, I think this committee would appreciate getting to see that and hear your thoughts on moving it forward. What would be, how can we progress this and make it something that everybody wants to pick up?
And so is there a concern that the community is not picking up the magazine, or what is the concern? Like currently, and what's it driven by? Is it driven by just curiosity, or is it driven by circumstances that have been brought to your attention? Have people said things? What is it that you're trying to accomplish, and what's brought us to this point? Besides being, I think it's
just an opportunity to revisit this and see where we are today, status quo. And I agree with I think it's Andy that said that. To hear from you guys, you're the professionals, you guys do this.
Right.
What are we missing? If we're too wordy, okay, let's address that. And so anything you could send us, and we could revisit that, I think it'd be a positive thing.
The main things I've been hearing, people like the publication, they like how accessible it is. The two questions, is one, is it a bit tired? Almost in the sense of, is it bad? That's its own subject, but it's kind of repetitive on some of the information and some of the information that we're providing as well. While some of that repetitive information does come from the amount of repetitive advertising in it, that's what makes it happen. So, and also get this, if there's too much ads, well, thank you for that, but that's what makes it happen. So we can't.
Yeah, I think it's more of a refresh than a, throw it away and start over.
Absolutely.
And for us, in order to make a refresh happen, that's going to come from your direction. And one of the things that we run into on refreshes is that we get examples and we want it to look like this. Okay, well, that doesn't represent your brand. Do you have a branding guide created that is going to follow this refresh? And there's a fine line of refreshing a magazine and rebranding a community. So, at the end of the day, the magazine has to represent, or should at least represent, the community and what the community's brand is, while at the same time having that more modern feel and look, which can be done with fonts and typesets. It can be done with more white space. The advertisers, we try really hard, and we have struggled with this since the beginning. And it's not just with you, it's with everyone. They give us their designs and they say, this is what we want. And as the publisher, I have turned down many of them, and some of them are really on the cusp. And we will even offer to redesign them for free, but they say, this is our brand. And so that's where we get stuck, is that, you know, we're stuck with their brands. And that's just one of the give and takes of having so many different brands represented in a magazine. But, you know, we do take we put a lot of effort in trying to make the advertisers look their best, because we also know what works in advertising. And, you know, we'll have the people bring stuff to us and we're like, I tell Christina or Barry, you need to contact them and have a very candid conversation. And in fact, just redesign it as we would and send it back to them. And, you know, we've had some good success with that through the years. But, you know, to what was mentioned earlier, and I apologize, I don't know who was saying it, but, you know, we can't really control too much of the repetition of the ads. And, you know, to the side of that, it's in the best interest of the advertiser to stay in their system. To keep it the same, so that when somebody is ready for their services, they know where to go find them and they don't have to be looking for something different every month.
Agreed. Any other questions for Christina and Sean before we move on? I think if you guys could get that to us, your best practices, your thoughts on from your professional standpoint on what we could do to make this more effective. And then we would, for the next meeting, we could talk about a refresh or whatever ideas we have that to move forward. So any other questions for Sean or Christina?
Thank you.
I think I just wanted to bring up, we did want to ask, does this go to every door, or is there a way to, if somebody said they don't wish to have it, do we have that within our control, or is it a no?
Yes, so these are addressed to every door in the community. It's not a saturation piece. So it has everyone's address on it. If you have someone that says we don't want to receive it, that's going to fall on you to make sure that they're added to a list that is, you know, a do not mail. And so with that, if we start a tally of the do not mails and keep that running, the problem you run into, and all this again, there's a lot of moving parts to all of this, is somebody sells the house, the new people never get the magazine because that house address was on a do not mail list. And nobody realizes it. And so, you know, there are homes that are sold in that community. You know, every month you probably have 20 to 30 or more homes that are sold, or maybe it's 15, I don't know. But, you know, based on the size of the community, I would say you've got homes that are selling. Based on the realtors that are advertising in the community, you've got homes that are selling. So that could create another problem that you may not want to create. I've always been fascinated by people that say, you know, because we'll get the calls with things like, we don't want to receive this in the mail. It's like, well, this isn't an opt-out scenario for, like, you know, like our emails are, right? Just recycle it. You know, it didn't, no harm, no foul, but, you know, sometimes people get upset about it. I don't understand it, but, you know, it's their thing. So how you decide to deal with that, just be cautious in what processes you put in place on your side and how you direct us to handle that for you, because it can come back and bite you. And then all of a sudden you realize that you've got a bunch of people in the community that would love to receive the magazine, but haven't been and didn't realize they even should be.
So along that lines, then, are there ways, such as saturation or even different formats, print formats, or even cutting down pages, to shift some of your expertise and the capital that we get, like your expertise, from that to helping us modernize and helping us do something that's more generalized, right? Like for the community as a whole, so that those people that do get whatever in the mail and want to recycle it know where to go, or somehow, you know, can somehow find the information somewhere else that's actually could obviously it could open up an advertising revenue for you guys if it was online or something like that.
Yeah, and that's something that that's what I had looked at is how we can, because it was like I mentioned earlier, I serve the advertisers and I serve the community, and so whenever I'm looking through a lens, I'm looking through those two things as to how to benefit both of them, because one can't exist without the other. And that the online idea was, okay, we can offer this to our advertisers, but now I'm into showing them and how many clicks they've had, how many teaching them how to do all of these things online that I don't know that a lot of them may not even have an online presence or know what it is to have a conversion from a click. So now I'm dealing with that. And so when I weighed all of that out, again, if we were doing so, in full disclosure, in January 2020, it was the first celebration went profitable. Okay. It was the first month where it was like, okay, we're there, let's go. And then COVID hit and it literally fell apart. Now, all of these advertisers were in contracts, right? I could have enforced those contracts regardless of COVID because I was still publishing the magazine. But I had a moral dilemma with that. And so as an individual, which then carried over into my company, I decided that if advertisers were shut down, that there was no way that I could sleep at night by still charging them for something they would not receive benefit from. But I still had an obligation to the community to produce that magazine, which I continued to do and have continued to do without fail. And so for me, it's if we were back in 2020, this would be, and it was those numbers, we would be having a totally different conversation because we still haven't been able to get up to that point of that high point where where I consider it to be a profitable endeavor, where it's making money. Like essentially what it is I'm working for free, but with the hopes that it will either sustain and we find a way to increase revenue, or we do increase revenue just because people see the value. That being said, we're back to how do we expand into other things? I don't have that answer. And I think that it's something that we can definitely touch back on after we all kind of have the full scope from this conversation as to where things need to go and what the community wants and what we can do together to make it work. One of the things, just as a side note, if you do a community spotlight, the problem with this is we've spoken to so many different people about this because the turnover has been pretty high, that community spotlight, if you're going to do a community spotlight on a business, in order for them to get that, require them to take out an advertisement that they'll get a discount on, that they have to do it for a period of time to get this free spotlight. Because one of the things that we don't operate as is we don't sell, because it is a true community magazine and not one that a publisher is just going in and creating one randomly that you have no control over. A lot of the other magazines you see, they're selling the cover page. That image is a sold piece because it's an image of a business or somebody in the community that owns a business or is trying to promote something. The articles that are in there are sold articles. You don't have that type of magazine, and I've never wanted to go into that realm because I have always aligned directly with the HOAs because of my reputation of having their best interest in mind in everything we do, as though I lived there myself. And that's the angle that I took. With that being said, when you are doing spotlights, there should be a benefit to us, the publisher, for that being used because they're your pages and we've always let you do whatever you want with your pages. But that's one way that we can work together, and it will create incentive for all of us to continue to find ways to generate revenue to go after those bigger projects because it's expensive. It's expensive to go build a website out. It's expensive to maintain that. And I've got a full team on my printing side that's all that they work on is our software day after day. So it's not that we don't have the know-how. It's just the money isn't, the revenue isn't there to allow for it in this particular instance.
Sean, since you brought it up a couple of times, in fact, this isn't profitable. I guess I was like to see both sides of it. At what point, since you only have 4 magazines left, at what point do you have a red line of when you say, hey, this just isn't working for me anymore, I'm done with this?
I don't.
Heads up we get on that.
Yeah, I don't. And the reason why I don't, and I'll be very candid with you, is that my printing company is a very profitable enterprise, and it can sustain the publishing side, which is more of a passion project. It's also something that I'm planning on selling the printing company in the near future. And I plan on coming into the publishing side as full-time, where I will expand some of that or just be more day-to-day on that. I love the publishing side. Christina loves the publishing side. It's one of those things that is for me in the long term. If I were to sell the printing company, it gets me in a position where it creates some freedoms, and some avenues for more creativity, because that's the passion of it for us. Is I love what it is. I love what it's been, and if it never grew past 4, I'm fine with that too. But if that was my daily, I would be perfectly content with that. And I might even I've had my own magazines that we've put out as we've had communities that did bi-monthlies. And so on the off month, we would put out a magazine that was endorsed by the community, and that we controlled all the content and did everything. And, and I really do have a love for it. So don't mistake. I don't hold on to it just because I do. I mean, I do love the industry, and I believe in it. And I think that it still has great value. Just, it's just been a little more difficult after COVID.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, we're gonna have to leave it there for today, guys. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Christina. If you could get that information back to us on our best practices and what you think we could be doing to help you guys and to achieve better success with the magazine. And we'll have further discussions within our committee on what we need to do. So thank you again.
If you would on your side also provide us back with what it is that you see that you would like, because that when we understand what your vision is, we can help facilitate that. Some of those things aren't as difficult, and if it's a refresh, it's a refresh. It doesn't cost you anything. We're always happy to. I'm a very much a pay forward type individual in how I operate. So.
Well, and we can do that with further discussions amongst ourselves with our committee, and we will be happy to do that. So thank you again.
Great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time. Take care.
All right. I'm all about time management for our meetings, and I know we ran a little late. Do we want to do the vendor update on the website? Any comments on it?
Just a really quick overview on that. So we are vetting a few companies for this project. This project is running in tandem project that is a very Kanoa based project called Visit Celebration, and we're building out a Visit Celebration website through that new DBA under Kanoa. And with that, it's going to be a much more simple website than the depth and complexity that our Pro website has. So we're actually looking at kind of putting this not a full back burner, but letting us use our Visit Celebration as kind of a good pilot, see if we're getting a really good vendor, we can really test out the waters there to provide a much stronger ground for when we start running with the revamp of a Pro website. Because the main reason we're looking at changing the Pro website is our issues with our Freshie, which is our website provider. And
So,
They should all be related, though. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to bring the news under the new, I didn't know there was a new website, but what did you say, Visit Celebration? I mean, it's CMS, it's all content management.
yes, so we're looking at, we want to make sure that our ideal goal is that it's the same vendor doing both. If they're very clear, they want this Visit Celebration website to be a single entity outside of the Celebration website.
have you identified a vendor? I thought last time we talked, you're looking at three different vendors. Did you land on one?
Did not, the Canova board actually had a meeting today where they tabled it to, for us to go back and look on the back end user side a bit more on depth. Before, and so that will be proposed at their next meeting next month. So it's a great item to keep on the agenda for next month.
Okay, so for next month, could you add that to the agenda, Jacob? And also a further discussion, I'll call it a refresh for the magazine for an agenda item.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments before we wrap up?
Everyone's good on our next meeting date, just to confirm, we have it penciled for Monday, July 7th at the same time, 4:30 PM. And we will work with our scheduling committee to try to get the same location if this works.
Okay,
Yeah.
motion, very good. Thank you very much. A motion to adjourn?
We need a motion.
I'll move to adjourn.
Awesome.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a great month
right.
and think about this refresh. I think it's a great opportunity.
It's actually.
This one, I was with.
Okay, that's good to know.
Sounds good.
No. Super.
Same color? Okay, it seems like you guys.
There's a T in it. There's an archive in the T of all the names we've gone for the last 12 months. This committee. And that's one of the things. You should promote. All kinds of stuff. Maybe it's just a big thing we created. We created a crisis plan. We created it. Had it all in.
Yeah, I think.
Or no.
Yeah, I'm curious to be.
It's in the Teams.
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Then so when you have. your
Okay.
email-
So if you go to Teams and click on files, you'll see everything.
Okay, that's good to know.
So the thing with that.
There you go.
Thank you for that.
Guys, First.
It's nice to meet you.
Yes, in here.
There's nothing. That's why I'm just kidding.
Because it's no permissions, it's
Okay.
typically under.
Okay.
So under that, your Teams folder, you should be able to find that and get it.
Okay.
Let us know, and we can make sure the permissions are set. Sounds good. I said the wrong date because I went about this one, and this one is out a week because it's on the schedule. So it's scheduled for the 14th, not the 7th.
Oh, okay,
So we will,
July 14th.
yeah, July 14th.
Okay, got it.
All right, thank you. You're welcome. Good to see
Nice
you.
to
Nice meeting you.
Okay, well, I didn't realize.
Do that.
Sorry.
I don't know. Maybe let's see how many. Oh, since that.